Good evening, and thank you for that kind introduction. First, I want to thank Mayor Joe Meyer of Covington, Mayor Jessica Fetty of Erlanger, Mayor Martin Lenharf of Ellesmere, and Mayor Chris Rennickson of Independence for their kind invitation and to congratulate them for sponsoring this program this evening. It's really a pleasure for me to be with you today as we observe the 92nd birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the 38th year of his birth being celebrated as a national holiday, and the 31st year of the date of his birth being a state holiday in Kentucky. And during my career, I'm proud to have had the opportunity to work on behalf of the King holiday at the federal level as a legislative assistant to U.S. Senator Walter D. Huddleston, and at the state level in both the Collins and Wilkerson's administrations. The theme that you've assigned me today is bridging the gap, starting the conversation. Bridging the gap and starting the conversation. In an effort to prepare for this program, I talked with several individuals from this area. Bob Stevie, whom I used to work with in Senator Huddleston's office. John C.K. Fisher with the Kentucky Commission on Human Rights. Dr. Paul Teneke at Northern Kentucky University. Jerome Bowles with the local NAACP. And Chuck Whitehead, an old personal friend whom I've known for years. Each one spoke with the positive aspects of diversity and racial relations in Northern Kentucky. I already knew of the work of former state representative Arnold Simpson. However, they told me about the two superintendents of public schools in Northern Kentucky. The school districts that contacted with restorative justice. The black elected officials in the area. The fairness ordinances that have been enacted. And the streets and highways that have been named in honor of Dr. King. These affirmative steps show that you already have bridged some gaps and gone past the stage of conversation to positive actions. That is commendable. It was 55 years ago, on January the 13th, 1966, that President Lyndon Johnson named the first black to a presidential cabinet, Robert Weaver, as Secretary of HUD. In 2008 and 2012, we elected the first black to serve as President of the United States. In 2 days, we will inaugurate the first person of African descent to serve as Vice President of the United States. That's progress. Yet, in 2020 and January of 2021, we have experienced and are experiencing a deadly pandemic, demonstrations across the nation demanding an end to police brutality and racial justice, the impeachment of the president for inciting a riot and takeover of the Capitol. On Tuesday, January the 12th, Kentucky reported 2,944 deaths due to COVID-19 and 308,729 cases since the pandemic hit. There were 1,733 people hospitalized with COVID-19, including 397 in intensive care units and 205 on ventilators. The coronavirus pandemic has hit communities of color, particularly African Americans, disproportionately, and they've been hit hard. African Americans are affected with COVID-19 at nearly 3 times the rate of white Americans and are twice as likely to die from the virus. Because of the long and enduring history of bigotry and inequality in our nation, the impact of the virus is being felt much more acutely by African Americans in almost every aspect of life, from unemployment to rental evictions, to hunger, to the ability of our children to learn remotely, to safely casting of ballots. And this is just a few areas. The 2020 election eve poll released by the NAACP stated that more than half of African American voters said that the coronavirus pandemic is the most important issue in their community, that politicians should address this issue, followed by discrimination and racial justice. The police-involved killings of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor sparked a wave of peaceful demonstrations to demand an end to police brutality and racial injustice. More protests came in August when Jacob Blake was shot by a policeman and paralyzed from the waist down in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Breonna Taylor was a resident of my local community. The national NAACP and the local branch issued this statement regarding the Breonna Taylor killing. The injustice we're witnessing at this moment can be sensed throughout the nation. Kentucky's Attorney General, Daniel Cameron's failure to bring substantial charges against the officers who murdered Ms. Taylor. Yes, we did take the Attorney General, who is the first African American to be elected to a statewide position in Kentucky, we did take him to task. The City Council in Louisville passed an ordinance creating a civilian police review board with subpoena powers. The state legislature must give Louisville the authority to issue subpoenas. The bill is currently being drafted and has not been introduced. Once it is introduced, we will contact you for support and hope that you will contact your legislators to support this effort. And hopefully, you will decide that you need to pass a civilian police review board in your areas that has subpoena powers. We just completed an election. For the election for president. 7 million votes separated the winner, Joe Biden, and the loser, President Trump. It was a divisive election, one of the most divisive ones we've ever had. And several days ago, individuals who wanted to overturn the decision stormed the U.S. Capitol. It was very disheartening to me personally because I worked there for 12 years. And to see the building treated in the manner that it was. But I think it only shows that we are a divided nation. It was even determined that the treatment of those who assailed the Capitol and the treatment of those who marched this summer for racial injustice was markedly different. It was a matter of black and white. Although we have made so much progress, we have so much more to make. We must dismantle systemic racism. And racism has existed for 402 years, since the first African set foot on this continent in 1619. It has been established for this long and will not be dismantled overnight. There is no quick solution to racism. In talking with individuals, they reminded me that the African American population in Northern Kentucky is small. It is. However, if there were only one person living in your community of African descent, that one person deserves treatment that is fair and equitable. and needs to be treated as if there are 10 million. I would encourage you to look at your population, look at your community, and you decide what must be done to better the community for all. There are no magic solutions. Every community will be different. It's up to the leadership of the community, the elected officials, the community leaders, the civic leaders, the common man, to decide how your community treats each other. As we close, and as we observe Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday, I want to read a quote from one of his speeches. And I quote, "One of the most basic weapons in the fight for social justice will be the cumulative political power of the Negro. I can foresee the Negro vote becoming consistently the decisive vote in national elections." End of quote. It seems as if Dr. King were here with us in our elections last month. As also, I will remind us all of Kentucky's motto that was adopted in 1792. United we stand, divided we fall. And we must all work together. Thank you.